If you don't have a God shelf in your life, then I think you are doing it wrong. One of the things I've had to learn in my entrepreneurial journey is how to manage multiple passions, how to steward all the different gifts I have, because of course you can't do everything at the same time. So a God shelf is a framework I've developed that helps you manage all the various passions you may have in your life. My name is Michael Mni, I'm a social entrepreneur based in London, and one of the most difficult things I think I've had to navigate in my journey so far is working out what to focus on, what to pause, when to do what. So a God shelf, in simple terms, is a shelf that you put things that maybe you know you're meant to be working on, but you can't work on it right there and then. So you put it on the shelf, you put it in view, you still kind of satiate the desire and keep it watered, but you're not currently focusing on it. How did I come up with this? Well, there's sort of three scriptures. They're all very short that basically are the triangle that help you think about the shelf in the first place. The first one is in Ecclesiastes 3:1, and it basically says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under the sun." The point here is very simple. Things have seasons, you can't do everything at the same time. The second is Habakkuk 2:3, and it says, "For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end, it will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come if there is no delay." And the third one, so one of my favorite scriptures, is in 1 Corinthians 14:40, and it says, "But all things should be done decently and in order." And that's basically the sort of theological framework, if you like, for this idea of a God shelf. Things should be done in order, things have a time, and you can't do it all at the same time. I think a mentor of mine once told me, if you try to chase two rabbits, you end up catching none of them at all. So, what does this mean practically? I'll give you a kind of simple example. I'm someone who's super interested in music, and I have musical kind of talents and gifts, and that's a part of my life. I'm also super interested in sport, but I'm also building a business. I can't do all of that at the same time. So what may happen is, at a specific time in my life, I commit to one major thing. So let's say I'm building a business. Then what I do is I put sport, I put music on my God shelf. Now, does that mean I'm not doing it? No. It means I know I'm meant to do it, I'm committed to doing it, I'm not doing it just there and then. So what I do is I keep it in view, I still stay connected to it. I might go to music events, I might play tennis on the weekend, I might go running, I might do marathons. Now what I'm doing there is I'm still satiating and keeping that thing in view, right? In view. However, it's not what's currently occupying like a lot of my time. So that's what a God shelf is. Practically, it means at a given time, you might want to commit to like one major thing or one major project, or maybe even two major projects, and all the other things you need to put on a God shelf. Not because they're not important and you're done with them, but because they're not for that appointed time, but you still want to keep them in view. Now, practically, the reason why you do this is because you want to do things excellently. And the difficulty is when you're trying to build multiple projects at the same time, you can't give each one the attention it deserves. So if you never fully really give your all to one project, what you find yourself doing rather is harboring all the regret that inevitably starts to kind of weigh you down as you move on to the next thing. So if I don't give my all to my business, all that happens when I leave my business and pick up sport or pick up music, whatever it is it gets to a stage where I now have a lot of regret. So rather than doing that, here's what you do. You focus on one project, you put your attention, your energy, your passion into that project. As it starts to get to a stage where it's maybe stable, maybe you've got some staff, maybe you can see that there's momentum building and you're happy with the kind of the state it's in, then you can gradually introduce one more thing, right? So for me, there was a period where all I did was build my business. Like my first business, all I did was just focus all my energy on it. When we got to a stage where we had staff, we had money, I could see a runway, then I started picking up tennis, playing in tournaments and that sort of stuff. And then once I got to a stage where I'm starting to see things even growing more, I might then say, okay, cool, let's start touring again, let's start making music again. You get the gist. I'm waiting for something to get the right momentum and to get some people into the business before I then switch and start doing something else. And then the third thing I think I always think about and I try to help people with is realizing just because you're not doing something full time doesn't mean you're not doing it. So sometimes people have this idea that actually I'm meant to be like a full-time musician, and it's like, that's not the only way to fulfill your musical dreams. You could be a full-time banker and on the weekends play, drums for different bands. You could maybe even tour with a band. Just because you're not a full-time drummer doesn't mean you're not excellent, you're not great. Full-time just means it's what I do principally to make money. But we've got to maybe reduce or even destroy the narrative that if you're not doing something full-time, that you're not really doing it. Because that's what I think as the pressure people feel about putting things on the shelf. They're like, but if I put it on the shelf, I'm losing a bit of who I am. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're just not doing it full time. You can play tennis, you can run, you can gym, you can dance, you can do all those things to a really high level and it still not be your full-time job. So when you think about those things, it helps put you at ease to know that you can actually just chase your dreams, do different things without thinking you have to do them full time. Now, I actually wrote about this on my newsletter, which if you haven't subscribed to, you should. And that's another way you can support me as well, as by going to my Substack and joining and becoming a member. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you agree? Is this something helpful to you? See you in the next one.